All right, let's do it live on a First Friday Miracle edition of Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio. Merely Bo, the Great Z. How you living, buddy?
I'm doing all right, brother. Doing all right. Ready, obviously, to get this thing going as we turn the page. And really, on a First Friday, normally we're just meeting the team, and we will meet the team today.
Sure.
But the coordinators are going to talk because this is really like a Thursday, and everything's accelerated, getting ready for this game against the Ravens on Saturday. And it feels like it's a Ravens team that isn't sure who's going to be their quarterback. One thing we are sure of is who our quarterback is going to be, Deshaun Watson.
We are also sure that we're going to look extra crispy. Are you kidding me with a white face mask?
Bring him back.
Gorgeous.
Bring it back.
Gorgeous.
Bring it back.
Man, does that pop, huh?
Yeah, it's elite.
It really
The
pops.
problem is our logo
well,
is our helmet, and it has
what would
a
you have
brown
to
face.
do? You'd have to take the white shadow off of the logo to put the white face mask on it in the logo. I mean, we've had it before.
We've had a
way.
white, yeah, and then it's just it just is on its own. It doesn't have a shadow. It just is. It's just the helmet. Here's the helmet. I guess it would have to be on a dark background. But yeah, we've had that logo before because we had that. Then it was gray, and then it went to the brown.
Oh, it's just outlined. It's just got black as a black outline. It's white face mask with black outline. That's it. It's easy.
Yeah, easy peasy lemons. Bring it back. I think it's beautiful.
There are.
I think it's stunning. I love it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I like the gray one too. I do think the white one's even really pops even more off of the orange.
Yep,
it looks fantastic.
No doubt.
It is. What is your Apex Us uniform?
That throwback that we wore last year
is
probably with the shadow. Yeah, you throw that with the white face mask would be electric.
That would look good with a white lid too.
Well, of course, the white lid would be outrageous.
Did that as a one-off, not as always, but as a one-off.
I do love the brown top over the white. I do like the brown over the orange, not as much as other people do because I know it's the Cardiac Kids, and it is a nice uniform, but it's a lot of color to me.
I agree. Yeah.
I think our all whites are crispy. Even our current all whites are crispy. I like that too.
Yes,
I think that's a good look.
Yeah, I know that there is a negative feeling to the all white because it was worn a lot during the 2000 and 2010s.
Yeah, but it was also worn a lot by Bernie.
That's where I was headed. Like when I first got in here, there was an image. I think it was right there or around.
Yeah,
is it right around the corner?
It's right around the corner.
Is it still there? There was the Clay Matthews one was right there, but there was one of Bernie's around the corner of him in the snow, and it's just gorgeous. It's such a great pop. So I love to see it. Everything okay?
Yeah, apparently stream issues or something is not happening properly.
I like the white face mask, orange lid, and I like white over white in the current look with the striping and everything, with the shoulders and the socks, the whole bit. The Eric Metcalf look, if you will, the Bernie look.
Yes.
And I also like the dark brown over white. I'm with you. I'm not. I certainly appreciate why people like the brown over orange. I get it. Or the white over orange. I understand that. But when I think of like the look, those are the two that come back to me.
Agreed.
And the white face mask, really.
It's gorgeous.
Have we ever seen a white face mask on this helmet?
Well, I mean,
because it's a different color. It's oranger.
It's oranger.
Yeah. So I don't know that we've ever seen a white on this helmet. We've seen a gray.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've ever seen a white on this helmet.
I don't know if we've ever seen a gray either.
Yeah, didn't we have a gray last year when we wore the throwbacks?
But that was a different helmet. That was a white, just a singular white.
No, this is the first year of the. No, it's the same shell, so the same color.
You're saying the same orange, yeah, but the
same
striping
orange.
was different.
Yes, but I mean the orange was the new orange. So I think this is the first time new orange white face mask.
Okay,
pretty sure because the first time they've worn it since like 03, 04, something like that.
Yeah, and it's a delight.
It is. It looks very, very good. Imagine Mellon down there, just the excellence.
Yeah.
Of taking those all off and putting them all on it. I mean, they put the video out. That's what he was doing. It's not like these are new shells.
Yeah.
Changed them all out.
No. It is nice. But I do think it's great when we can do the new shell. When we can do as we've seen teams around the league do this year. When
Who's dropping one?
Switch the color.
Someone's got one coming up that's kind of a surprise out of nowhere.
The Panthers went with a black.
No, there was one that was an unscheduled that could be dropping this weekend.
I think you're right.
There's one that is. Why am I blanking on it? It was one that wasn't planned for. And it just popped.
Isn't somebody going with a white lid?
It's white or black. I just remember seeing it last week on social, and it popped, and I thought, well, that wasn't in the brochure.
They called for a whiteout somewhere. Hold on. NFL whiteout. And then we were saying, oh, is that going to be a white lid?
Most of
I
these
don't
we
know.
have. Most of these have tracked,
Yeah.
and we've seen them. We're waiting on the creamsicles, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm looking this up because I know it's somebody.
Yeah, there's a new one that just popped. It was last week. No, I don't know. I'm not seeing it. I don't know where it is. There was definitely one, though. I remember it just happened like a week ago.
Yeah, I don't
Was
see
it the
any,
Patriots?
No, that was planned.
I don't see any current.
Was it the Eagles black? Is that the one I was thinking of, or was that
that
one
wasn't
planned?
recent? That happened.
Yeah.
It was somebody who did it recently.
Yes, it was a recent one where they threw it on, or they planned to throw it
Yeah,
on.
so all the articles I'm finding are from July when it
I
was
know,
the
me
ones that
too.
were all announced.
All right, we'll figure it out. One of our great listeners will sort it out.
Somebody
and
will get it to us.
sorted.
Yeah, they'll get us the information.
Yeah, the white I think would be cool as a throwback because we've worn that too.
Yeah.
We've worn that helmet at this point. I don't know how the Patriots vanquished the opportunity to wear the Buccaneer helmet in the creamsicle with
It's so
Brady
good.
because he's not coming back. Is the toughest job in equipment Ohio State having to put those Buckeye leaves on every week?
Yeah, it's got to be.
That
Any
gotta
of
be
those
brutal.
colleges that do those things. Is,
Well, Ohio State does the most of them. I mean, it's a whole helmet full of them, and
Yeah.
they get battered in a game, and then you got to reapply.
yeah.
That's brutal. And then you got to make sure every kid has the right amount because they're all different.
And then the helmets change.
Yeah.
The all black.
Oh
your
yeah,
favorite.
they've done some of that stuff too, where they put the black with the red leaves or the
Yeah,
green
then you
leaves.
got to
It's-
change up gear.
Yeah, that's a lot going
That
on.
feels like a lot.
Those college guys, the Oregon guys probably have it most, but I'm guessing that was just a bunch of different shells.
Yep.
Versus having to change it very much. Players are back in the building today. You'll hear from them. Deshaun Watson, among those you'll hear from today on the program. We'd have some roster updates for yesterday. More bad news at the linebacker position. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah on IR. JOK appeared in 11 games, 70 tackles, 4 passes defense, 2 forced fumbles for the second-year player out of Notre Dame.
And he had 7 tackles for loss. So he was 4th on the team in tackles, 2nd in tackles for loss, 1st in forced fumbles, tied with Myles Garrett, who also has 2 on the season. Just a monstrous loss. You think about the last time that we played the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore, it was Jacob Phillips, it was Taki, and it was JOK that were your top 3 tacklers. And now they're all on IR.
Yeah.
Not to mention Anthony Walker on IR. So this is tough. You had 8 tackles for Taki, 7 for Phillips, 6 for Owusu-Koramoah. They had 2 tackles for loss combined, a forced fumble, a quarterback hit, couple of passes defensed. I mean, those were the guys. And this is a team in the Baltimore Ravens that, fortunately, you're not going to be dealing with Lamar Jackson, but it is a team whose entire offense is built around putting linebackers in conflict.
Yes.
And we are going to have, Deion Jones played the full way last week, 59 snaps, and actually played, I thought, very well. An interception, 7 tackles, couple of passes defensed. He was all over the field. But, now it's going to be Tony Fields, Konashik, Reggie Ragland, who just got here, and
Yeah.
Jermaine Carter. But you're going to need you play base against this team a lot. My guess is we're going to play Ronnie a bit at linebacker this week.
Sure.
But I mean, this is a very difficult team to deal with when you're not 100%. Now, the Browns may catch a huge break, and it might not only be not Lamar Jackson, but also not Tyler Huntley, who's still in the concussion protocol. Anthony Brown, the undrafted free agent out of Oregon, would be the quarterback. And if you watched last week, they won, but they didn't even attempt to really throw the ball once he was in.
No, I mean, he was a 50% passer when they played. It's Vikings. White.
That's what it is, a whiteout. I knew it was
Yeah,
a
the
whiteout.
whiteout. Yeah, Vikings dropped it. They're going to wear that on Christmas Eve.
That's going to be
That'll
sick.
look pretty slick. Yeah, for them. It's very good. They went with the silver face mask on that. Yeah. Hey, look, man. I mean, this the middle of the spine of our defense, if you will, has been gutted. Has either not played to expectation or now at linebacker has been absolutely gutted. The middle of the defense is it's going to be an adventure. And this defense was built, if you thought about if this defense was whole, it was really built with 2 teams in mind. It was built to run with the receivers of Cincinnati, and it was built to chase Lamar Jackson. That's what it was. And you're really not going to get – was there a single game where you got to look at that against those 2 teams? Because Anthony Walker went out so early.
No, but I mean, the way that we defended Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews in the first game was very much
Very
that
effective.
You saw that. I mean, that's what it was built to do, and we did a good job against Joe Burrow, honestly.
Yeah.
In both games this year. I mean, that's the worst. Certainly 2 games he's had against anybody, and you add them together and just make it in one average game. It is by far the worst that he's done against anybody. So you've been successful in that regard. The most painful thing about that is that in those 3 games, you're 1-2 despite achieving the goals you set out to. And part of it's because of special teams blunders in both of the games against the Ravens and in the Bengals this time. It would be an inability to kind of punch some things in offensively on a 4th down. It would be an inopportune turnover in the Ravens game, the first one, the sack strip fumble in your area. So it's tough. It's tough that you've accomplished a lot of the things, One of the things in getting ready for this game and we go back to the Anthony Schwartz thing, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but he was supposed to be that guy, and he wasn't, and that has hindered our ability to be a dominant offense, and yet we are still I think we're number 6 in offense this year overall. We're still a darn good offense. We are number 5 rushing, number 6 total offense. We're 3rd in explosive plays. But if you can figure that out, I think this offense could go nuclear.
Yeah.
If you could figure that out. And it's funny, I was getting ready for it. Deshaun Jackson, if you know already, then you can admit that and just tell me. But do you know what Deshaun Jackson's averaging per catch this year?
No point of reference. No clue.
19.1 yards a catch. He can still run and make plays. And just even Deshaun Jackson would have changed this football team.
It's what I was saying yesterday when it was Monday. The days start to run together on this, but you don't need 10 targets. You need 10 routes out of the guy. It's it. You needed 10 plays a game where the defense had to be on its heels or a half yard further back for fear that the top was going to be blown off, and you didn't have it.
No.
And you haven't had it. Now you can scheme guys open deep. We do that all the time. We do that all the time with Amari and DPJ and Chief and several others. You can scheme them open deep 20 yards downfield for sure. Like you have that mid to long range passing game. But the bombs over Baghdad stuff, man, it's just there's no fear of it with this personnel. And they thought it would be Schwartz. It's not. And it's missing. It's lacking.
And you don't even have to hit it every time. It's more he can
threat.
run it, and it's the space it creates then on the inward breaking routes for Donovan Peoples-Jones and Amari, the space it creates down the seam for the Chief, all of those things. And we're excellent without it. But I'll say it again, you're not going to get that this year, and there's no reason why this team can't go 4-0 and at least make things interesting these final 4 games. There really is no reason they can't. Will they? We'll see. But that, to me, is priority number 1. Yeah. That's me, Nathan Zegura, my number 1 priority for this team. And I really felt last year, obviously, it was fix the passing game, which meant the quarterback. So you got Watson, bring Clowney back. That was good. And then as we went through the season, it was, is Schwartz the guy? And if not, if we don't have that definitive yes by the end of training camp, get me Deshaun Jackson, Will Fuller, T.Y. Hilton, Emmanuel Sanders, who's retired and obviously didn't want to play. But get me somebody that's got a little bit of juice to at least open some things up.
And this is the other there's so many layers to that too. The best example I can think of, like deep threat / or quarterback with big arm, 2014 national championship game, Ohio State plays J.T. Barrett. They do not beat Alabama. Cardale Jones, because of his ability to throw the ball deep down the field, Landon Collins was lining up a yard further back than he was before. And what did that allow for? Space. It allowed for the underneath, it allowed for the deep, and it allowed for Zeke Elliott. Same thing here. It's just an extra half yard back. It's just the thought of, don't want to give up the home run. And right now, we don't have anybody on the roster who instills that fear.
Where's fail for Cardale?
Man, you remember that?
Yeah, in terms of just
probably the
inaccurate
biggest
tank scenarios.
It's a hell of a 30 for 30 because I feel very strongly that he was coming up here to his high school to turn pro and didn't. Ended up back at Ohio State, and they kind of half-measured the whole next season, and I don't even know where he ended up being drafted. But he probably would have been a second-round pick coming out of that run he had to the national title. Came up to Cleveland, up to Glenville to go pro, then has the press conference and then doesn't. Says, I'm returning, and everyone's like, wait, what? Really? You sure? Go.
What?
So, yeah, that was a big one.
I'm going to ask you, like you're Peyton, what changed?
I think powerful influencers wanted insurance in case of injury because you had Braxton Miller, who was hurt the previous year, was a 2-time Big Ten Player of the Year.
Yeah.
So he was coming off a catastrophic shoulder injury, and there was talk he was going to transfer out, or they ended up switching him to receiver.
Were you here when he was here briefly?
Cardale or Braxton?
Braxton.
Yeah, I was here when he was here as a receiver.
I don't remember what year. Yeah.
No, he was in here as a receiver.
They run together
second
after
year?
a while.
They do. It was either my first or second year.
It was early. Yeah.
Yeah, because he had the little stint in Houston. And then JT Barrett was coming off of a leg injury that was very serious. And, like, if Cardale would have gone pro, they wouldn't have had a single active quarterback for spring football. So, yeah, the rest is history. He goes back.
It's a leg.
It was, and that was it. But, yeah, those things are needed bigly, for this team as you get into that offseason wish list. I think there's a lot to play for this year. I think there's a lot of fascinating stuff that I can't wait to see, but it's all predicated on Watson. And that's the whole operation. I mean, these injuries on defense are real. Whatever this defense is the last 4 games, it almost really doesn't matter to me. I really just want to see Deshaun Watson operate in the next 4 games, get better and better every week. If he gets as good as he got between week 1 and week 2 as a starter, between 2 and 3 and 3 and 4.
Look out. Yeah, look.
Now you're onto something. He is still, right now, and I think it's very understandable, a see-it-open thrower.
Yes.
He's not anticipatory yet because he probably doesn't trust everything yet.
It got better as that game went
did.
on. When you watch the tape, it got better certainly in the second half. He was late on the interception, and that's something obviously he knows he needs to clean up, but he started to see it more clearly as the game went on. Something I talked with Coach Stefanski about today, as a matter of fact, and he absolutely agreed with that assessment and is excited to see where it goes. I think there's a lot of excitement about what Deshaun Watson could be. Now, here's the thing that sucks.
Yep.
We don't have a dome.
No.
And so these final 4 games are all going to be played in most likely bad conditions. Certainly it looks like the next 2 in Cleveland will be. And so all you want to do these games is throw the ball 40, 50 times a game. Let him just air it out.
Sling it around.
Sling it around the yard. Get comfortable. Get as many reps. Get as many looks as he possibly can playing in the NFL again. And I don't know how possible or how feasible that's going to be. And that goes back to my original statement. Let's get domes for everybody.
Domes, baby.
Domes for everybody.
Got to.
You know what happens in a dome? Perfect conditions.
Perfect conditions, yeah. You'd be able to get the Buckeyes if you get a dome, too. You'd get them in the first round of that college football playoff in a dome. So this is a 34 high, the real feel of 20, max wins of 33, average win 17. That's what you're looking at for this week.
Not terrible, but certainly not great.
Next week's even more. Christmas Eve is even more ambitious. 23 on the high for that one.
Jack. Listen, Jack. I don't like any of that at all. Not interested in that.
No, same. We'll go around the NFL. Bernie Kosar coming up in about 15 minutes. We're off and running. Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. The Bath Authority can give you the bathroom of your dreams. Why not transform your current bathroom into a custom bath for a spa-like experience? Let the Bath Authority make it a reality for you, my friends, at just a fraction of the cost of the competitors. These guys are the best. The Bath Authority is Cleveland's premier bath and shower remodeler. Experts, they're factory trained, they're ready to install in your home. They can do it for you in about a day. You get $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. The number is 216-220-8399. Go to thebathauthority.com for more. It's where affordability meets quality. It's the largest selection of bath projects. They're all made in the United States. Change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding. Acrylic tubs that insulate and keep the heat in, tub to shower conversions. Superior products with expert installers at thebathauthority.com at 216-220-8399. $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. Tell them that Bo sent you. They'll take care of you. Let's go around the league. Did you see this from Marcus Mariota?
Yeah, knee surgery. Good night, Irene.
Just left the team, though. They benched him and just left.
He's like, that's it?
I'm good. I'll see you on down the
And
road.
he's having knee surgery and he's going on IR.
No.
It's a
before
chronic,
that?
He
basically
left the
the
team.
Falcons had to spin it and go, it's a chronic
Yeah.
knee injury because he just was like,
No, he
"I'm
left.
out. See ya."
They put him bench, and then he left.
Yep.
So on the bye week, he was just like,
I'm good. I'll see you on down the road.
Yep.
Arrivederci, boys.
feels like there are 4 nice game checks for him, which he's going to get now since they place him on IR.
Yeah,
I guess
so
when you're a vested veteran, anyway, once you're on that roster, week 1, your
You're locked
salary's
in.
guaranteed.
Yeah. He's made a lot of money in the league.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah. Yep.
Doesn't feel like a good teammate. And everything you hear about him is he is a good teammate.
I'll never forget it. First press conference I ever heard, the kid talks at the national championship game, and you saw the tape on him. He won the Heisman.
Yeah.
Sitting in front of all these people, and I just thought, I just don't know if this kid's ever could lead men. Like,
Yeah.
he just was so shy,
Yeah.
so quiet, soft-spoken. I'm sure you ran into him at the combine. Like, it was the same thing. Like, it was almost like, excuse me, what was that? You know, like everything was under his breath. Everything, you could tell he just was very uncomfortable with the lights and the cameras and many people.
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. So Desmond Ridder will get a run. They're going to have to see what they have in Ridder, if he is the long-term solution there or not. At the very least, they're going to be a landing spot for a quarterback, whether it's through the draft or through free agency or trade. Atlanta needs one, so they got to figure out if Ridder's it for the rest of this season, or else they're going to go figure out something else in the draft or one of those other avenues. They got a lot of weapons there. I had forgotten that they traded Ridley.
To the Jags.
Yeah.
And he's going to just
For like a bag of balls, right?
step right on in there. Yeah.
Wasn't it for next to nothing?
Yeah, next to nothing. That's right.
NFL and NFLPA reviewing the handling of Devontae Parker's head injury during Monday night's game against the Cardinals. This is the second time this has happened where something was shown on television. It was like, wow, that seems like there's more going on there.
And his
it
own
happened to Miami the last time around. This time it's to his former team or one of their former players, Devontae Parker.
Yeah, and his own teammate was the one, Nelson Aguilar, who basically demanded that the play be stopped to get him looked at, which was good teammating by him.
Yeah. I will say it is very difficult for like the officials to see all of that.
Agreed. Fair.
You know, so sometimes if somebody does see it, it's important. Deebo Samuel was not put on IR, expected to rejoin the 49ers in about 3 weeks. Yeah, I wouldn't play him until the playoffs. They're not going to be the 1 seed anyway.
Yeah, and then Brock Purdy, you don't know what's going on. We're unsure his rib is not right.
Still nothing on that.
No, that's what they're saying.
Has Pedro weighed in on that?
I sent my dad this thing. Did you see Richard Sherman was talking about how good Kyle was?
Yeah, I did on Kevin Clark's thing.
Yeah, which was awesome, and that he forced Quinn to even change the rules in his cover 3 base defense because Kyle exploited their rules so much. My dad is not one to appreciate the great. Just like when I was a kid, we were going to lose every game we had with Joe Montana. Narrator, we did not lose many games. In fact, we won the vast majority of them. So I don't know. I don't know what he wants. He wants all the playmakers to make all the plays that are needed to win, but he also wants them to never have the ball so they don't get hurt.
And that's a fun explain. Make all the plays to win, but just always run out of bounds.
But never be in harm's way. Well,
never
it's
be in
football.
harm's way. It happens. Yeah, it does. They are so dangerous. Even with Purdy, I don't know if they're good enough to beat whoever comes out of the AFC with like a Brock Purdy quarterback situation.
Yeah.
That might be too tall of a mountain to scale, but they can win the NFC with somebody like that.
No doubt.
For sure.
Yes, agreed.
All right. For a team of injury lawyers dedicated to every client every day, call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk and Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. The great Bernie Kosar going to join us coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Well, there's nothing in the world quite like tailgating touchdowns and Twisted Tea. It tastes just like real iced tea. You know why? It's made with real brewed tea. Cool, refreshing, a 5% kick of alcohol. It's thirst down and gold. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea. Keep it twisted. And for that, we had it on the hotline, the Twisted Tea hotline, in fact. Brought to you by Twisted Tea, Hard Iced Tea. It's the great Bernie Kosar joining us, as he does every single Wednesday. Hey, Bernie, before we get into all the football stuff, I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but we're going to wear the white face masks on the orange lids like the one you wore back in the day, my friend. What is your favorite Browns uniform that you wore or that maybe you would have liked to have worn? What color combination, what face mask, etc.?
As good to be with you today. So much has changed in the last 35 years, but one thing that hasn't changed, Bo and Nathan, is that my fashion sense leaves a lot to be desired. So I completely
Bernie, you're a tremendous fashion icon.
Fashionable.
This is not true.
Not true.
We've seen you at the Miami press conference
We
when you
reject
turned
this.
pro. I don't buy this at all. I've seen you in the Zubaz pants at the NFL pro stuff. Come on, buddy. I will not stand for you not being a fashion icon.
Hey, the old school Zubaz, the old school Apex, the quarterback club. We love that stuff. But, you guys were so astute in the last segment or so talking about the last 4 games basically being in bad weather and stuff. And I mean this somewhat in jest and stuff, but the white face masks and stuff with the way we used to have mud spray painted green as our field and stuff. By the end of the game, it didn't matter if it started out white or brown. By the end of the game, they were all brown.
It's
No
unbelievable, the spray painting of the field. I mean, you remember those images for sure. Yeah. Gosh,
not great. Not great. Bernie, obviously not the result we wanted down in Cincinnati, but I think a lot of the focus certainly now, especially for these last 4 games, on Deshaun Watson. I thought he made big progress week 1 to week 2. What did you see?
Seeing 26 for 42, 276 yards, a touchdown, an interception, 6 rushes for 33 yards. To see what happened in Houston, and first in the pros, there's no real substitute. There's no moral victories. It's W's and L's and stuff. But compared to what happened offensively in Houston the week before, and just 7 days later, to see the progress that Sean made and being more comfortable out there. Of course, there's a few plays he wants back. Of course, only ending up ultimately with 10 points isn't what you want in the Battle of Ohio. But his progress from in just 7 days was impressive.
Bernie, the thing that when you think about what he's trying to do here, 700 days without playing, and then obviously it was rough against Houston with some of the one-hops and stuff, and then you did feel him building as the game went along in Cincinnati with his anticipatory throws and so forth. The word I think this always comes back to is trust, right? Because you got to trust a guy is going to be where you think he's going to be when he's going to be there. You got to trust that the play is set up the way that it's designed and that you're supposed to be where you're going to be. Can you build the type of trust necessary to play at a high level in the NFL in the middle of the season?
It's challenging to build that trust that's necessary at the middle to the end of the season. Unfortunately, coupled with the fact that, we've talked a couple of times through the course of the year about Jacoby, in particular the first Cincinnati Bengals game where he ran the ball into the left side and had that rushing touchdown. And we remember Jacoby saying how he had a flashback to the LA Chargers game where he threw the interception, and that the game is slowing down for him. And a lot of people have said, well, the game's slowing down. He has kind of demons in his head. He's remembering the bad plays. And we talked about, I believe astutely on the show, that actually that's an awesome sign that the game is slowing down from him, and it's almost in slow motion. And when the game was in slow motion for myself, boy, it was so much more fun to play. And after, well, to your point of Deshaun not playing in 700 days, to have played now 2 games in 8 days and stuff, it's really unrealistic to think that the game's going to be slow for him. And yes, there's the trust with the receivers, but there's also that confidence in that belief in what we're seeing is accurate. And until you really get those live game reps and you get out there during the game, you don't really have that belief that you're seeing what you're seeing in the amount of time, because a 3-step drop is 1.7 to 2.2 seconds. And yes, sitting in a video room or in a meeting room, it's one thing to make that determination. But when you're out there on the field, the bullets are flying, and you got those 300-pound defensive linemen trying to decapitate you, that makes it a lot more challenging to make those decisions.
Yeah, and you've got 3 guys who have more than 90 career sacks coming to town on the Ravens, a couple of great blitzing linebackers as well, and so you'd expect Deshaun Watson to see some pressure in this game. But I want to talk about, you mentioned the weather, Bernie. You know, ideally, these last 4 games would be played in domes. We would get to see Deshaun Watson in perfect environments against NFL defenses, throwing it 50 times a game, really to just try to get him as many reps as possible, right, to go out the season. But we're looking at some tough weather conditions certainly here. You know, Washington will likely be better, but it's not significantly better. And then Pittsburgh, you know, who knows January the 8th what that's going to look like. How as a quarterback do you deal with that? And can you still, you know, get a high throwing, you know, type of attack out there, a high volume passing attack to get him those reps in this weather? And is it more about the temperature or is it more about the wind?
The latter still makes me, when I see all the wind that comes in Cleveland, that's the part that makes me somewhat happy to be retired these days. The cold, the rain, the snow, you could deal with. The wind and the way it swirls within our stadium is the Achilles heel for offensive football and that. And I'm with you. I would like to see decent weather, nice weather to where you're able to run NFL offensive plays, where you're able to throw the ball and get a feel for what we could do, throwing the ball and stuff. And also, I hate to say it like this because I've been the biggest proponent of run the damn ball most of the season and stuff, but I don't want to see Nick Chubb, in particular, take excessive hits running the ball excessively 25, 30 times a game these last few games at the end of the season, unless it really matters for the playoffs. And, yeah, I'm sure he would probably disagree with that, but, you know, he's a superstar. He's a long-term career player here for our Browns, and it's essential that a Nick Chubb is at the peak of his game next year. So, yeah, it's coupled with keeping a Nick Chubb probably healthy and getting him to the offseason, coupled with probably this week or last week will be the last time we talk about Deshaun not playing in 700 days, and we get into the routine of him getting comfortable and seeing what he could do.
Yeah, Nathan and I said that yesterday, Bernie. Like, I mean, you have a 0.04% chance of making the postseason. Like, I want to see Deshaun sling it all over the place. I want to get this pass game running so that by the time you get to next year, you kind of have a feel of what works and what doesn't. And Bernie, I think that goes for schematic, what works and what doesn't with Watson, because this is a flip from what Jacoby was to what Deshaun is, and then also personnel-wise, right? Who fits with the type of offense this is going to be? Because rest assured, next year in camp, this is Deshaun Watson's team, right?
Yeah, Bo, right on point. I was actually going to say that it's imperative and important for Deshaun and stuff, but equally as important for the team, for the organization, for the coaching staff, for Alex Van Pelt, for Coach Stefanski, because they also want to see what Deshaun does good, what Deshaun is comfortable with, who he has a rapport with, just as much as Deshaun wants to feel comfortable with and trust with the receivers, the O-line, his footwork in the pocket, the play calling, the game planning. I mean, it goes both ways where his being able to throw and kind of spin the ball around out there also gives the coaching staff, the organization, the people around the organization to see what he's best at too.
I want to ask you something about, look, one of the things that we saw in this offense, and it's been very good, right? It's the number 6 total offense in the league, 13th in scoring, so obviously you could do a better job finishing some drives. But one thing that has been apparent is that schematically we're exceptional. This is an exceptional scheme. We are able to get guys open. But it's also very apparent to me, Bernie, what is missing from this team and what we had hoped Anthony Schwartz would be is a guy that can take the top off of a defense and a guy that can create space due to the threat of his vertical speed, his ability to win over the top, all of those things. When Deshaun Watson led the league in passing in Houston, he had Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks, both guys who could get down the field. And what that does is it creates space, so it makes Amari more effective. It makes DPJ more effective. It creates more space in the seam for David Njoku. I think it's kind of amazing we've done what we've done without that. But, Bernie, would you agree with the assessment that that's probably the number one thing this offense needs? And number two, just from a quarterback's perspective, what does it do when you have somebody that defenses have to account for vertically?
Wow, Big Dog, you're right on point with it there. I mean, we talked last week about how the Bengals against Patrick Mahomes have been rushing 3, spying 1, and dropping 7, and that we may see some of that against Deshaun because Deshaun's got good wheels and is going to run the ball. But we also pointed out that the Cincinnati Bengals lead the league, are one of the top teams in the league at 0 cover blitzes. In the game the other day, and right where you're talking about, when you're not afraid of taking the top off the defense, when the DBs aren't afraid of you, me, and Bo running past them, they squat and they're inside. And damn, isn't that what we're seeing? Squatting inside. Yet when you see the Dolphins, you see some of the teams with speed-type receivers. Those DBs are apprehensive. They're afraid to get beat deep. They're getting just a step or two, just a foot or two, a yard, but they're a foot or two or a yard deeper. And that just that little bit of space either allows you to throw the ball underneath super easy, or when they come up and in that tight kind of press squatting coverage, bro, right over the top. It's like stealing when you got that speed.
Yeah, and it's something that, was identifiable in camp that was needed. The hope was that Anthony Schwartz would be able to be that. He hasn't, for myriad reasons, been able to. And now you can manufacture it open, but it's that mentality on the back end. You don't need it that often. You just need some of it. I want to ask you one other thing schematically with Watson, because one thing that we obviously haven't seen too much of with Kevin Stefanski here is the RPO game. Didn't see much of it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. And
yeah,
Bo, I'm trying to chime in too, but
sure.
Just how you say, and Coach Stefanski, Alex Van Pelt, Chad O'Shea, they've taken some flack on some of the play calling. You kind of quickly said how the coaches, how you have to manufacture the deep throws to get open. You're absolutely right, unfortunately. And for having limitations in the speed department, we actually have manufactured guys with separation to get open deep. So I know I'm not trying to lobby to be a coach next year by complimenting them, but they really have come up with creative ways to create it, and that's easier. That's not as easy to do as people think.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about that in the first hour. Look, you've gotten deep shots with Chief down the seam. You've gotten them with Amari. You've gotten them with DPJ, but there's not anybody that we feared. Bombs, right? 50 yards downfield, take a shot. You need 10 of those a game, a guy who scares somebody. We don't have it. I want to ask you about the RPO game. There were 8, I think, RPOs counted in the game for Deshaun against Houston. There were a couple of them last week as well. It's obviously a part of his life and something that he did the whole way growing up through Clemson and his time in Houston. How do you think Coach Stefanski, Alex Van Pelt, and the company will integrate that? And by the way, this is all going to have to marry because it's a different mentality for the offensive line, too, in terms of what they're allowed to do in the RPO game. So Bill Callahan's group's going to have to be on board with that. And it might have to be something in the offseason. But how do you think that will marry into what Kevin Stefanski's identity offensively is?
I do believe that will marry well into the identity of the team. Coach Stefanski, Deshaun, Nick Chubb, Coach Callahan, the O-line. But that's exactly where I think the RPO game and the trust game has issues in the 700 days of inactivity and coming in here in week 12, 13, 14 with only 4 games to go. That's where it's really hard to have your timing, have your trust, have your confidence on a play that is where there's multiple reads, where you're trying to make a decision in 1.7 seconds, where you have to have your brain, your head, your footwork, your arm, your understanding of the offense, your belief in the O-line, and confidence in the huddle, confidence in the pocket. All of that has to be in really homeostasis to be able to kind of run those RPOs. That's the things that I believe that here in the fourth quarter of the season is the challenging thing to get on the same page with it. That's the thing with the a whole off season, I believe next year will be significantly better at, and that's something initially in Houston and last week in Cincinnati. That is probably the hardest thing right now to get the timing on.
It's clear that he's got a good rhythm with your guy, David Njoku, who scored again last week, catching the first touchdown from Deshaun Watson. And when you have a tight end that you can use in so many ways like that, Bernie, what does that do for a quarterback?
Yeah, Nathan, I love my tight ends. And, I've been high on the David Chief Njoku, 7 catches, 59 yards, a touchdown. He's probably, besides becoming dominant in the pass game, I'd be hard-pressed to find a tight end who could block better than Chief right now. So, I think that David Njoku is absolutely not just having a Pro Bowl year, but he's having an all-pro year. He's for sure, him and Travis Kelce are for sure the 2 tight ends I want in my huddle.
You're right about that. And, Bernie, I want to say there was one play that I saw in that game from Deshaun that reminded me. It was like a page out of the Bernie Kosar playbook. You have a screen set up to the left. It's blown up, so you just spin around, sprint out to the right, put a defender in conflict in space, and just pop the ball over his head for 20 yards. Was like when you saw that, were you like, that's vintage Kosar right there? My mobility, he's taking another page right out of my playbook.
I felt like that was a Kosar on that touch throw, but even in Disney World Dreamland, the Bernie Kosar didn't have that athleticism and that late work behind me.
Was that a play, though, in all seriousness, when you see his ability? People talk about making plays in and out of structure. And in structure, we saw him rip some beautiful balls, the one to Donovan Peoples-Jones on that post where you hit him right in stride, or the deep dig was a great throw. But when you can make a play like that where a screen is blown up and you just improvise and turn it into a 20-yard chunk play by running around, is that one of the things that gets you excited because he's so good in structure, but then when you see what he can do out of structure, you say, even if the call doesn't work, he can still make wrong right?
Yeah, absolutely. His ability in that game, and again, only scoring 10 points, I'm not saying this to be Deshaun's marketing rep or to stroke him and stuff, but his ability to make plays in rhythm, he made plays in the pocket, and then when plays deteriorate, his athleticism to make something out of nothing is really artistic to watch. And that's the type of stuff where keeping that materializing, keeping that going is essential for our success in the future.
Bertie, you were a Northeast Ohio kid, so you grew up playing in inclement weather, knew what it was all about. You go down to the U and you play in the perfect conditions most of the time down there, and you come back, and then it becomes part of your life playing here. Deshaun Watson's a Georgia kid. He played at Clemson, then he played in a dome in Houston, largely dome or warm climates in the NFL, some in the postseason, but not something that he had to face all the time. Are there any tricks of the trade to it? Are there any little things that you know innately growing up in this climate, whereas if you don't, you wouldn't? Anything you could pass along to him, or even any other warm climate teammates you've had in the past who, didn't know the difference in playing in cold versus not?
Yeah, there's absolutely tricks to the trade, and there's absolutely idiosyncrasies that you could maximize within our stadium. It absolutely starts with the wind. Me and Phil Dawson used to go back with all of our meteorology and figure out wind patterns and stuff, but the way it goes in there, and I absolutely recommend to all young quarterbacks to go to each corner of the stadium, each pylon before the game, throwing up grass up in the air to see which way it's swirling, which way it's going and stuff with that. And then absolutely the way the Cleveland Browns have scored 6 touchdowns to start the season, the first drive off this season, the way we're able to script plays early in the game, there's actually, I would have 2 types of game plans for the end of the year for bad weather games. And there was bad weather wind type plays that were really heavy with motions, shifts, and personnel groups. And just like we're able to sometimes create some screenplays, some kind of cheap, easy throws early in the games with motions, personnel, groups and stuff, you're able to do that. You're able to do that in bad weather games. So I actually like to almost save some of my motions, personnel plays and not use them up on days where it's nice weather, nice days to throw. Because when you got a nice day and you can throw the fades and you can throw the ball down the field, sometimes you don't necessarily need to trick the other team when you're physically better than them. And physically, we're physically been more dominant, I think, running the ball wise than most teams this year. In adverse windy weather, sometimes you're able to I don't want to say trick the guys more, but with your personality, with your emotions and shifts, you're able to come up with easier plays to take advantage of things, or not make big mistakes in the bad weather and leave it for the other team to make the mistakes.
You're the best, buddy. Thanks
Yes.
for your time today. Love the conversation as always, pal.
You matter. Go Browns.
The great Bernie Kosar joining us on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, an official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Coming up next, your current quarterback, Deshaun Watson, at the podium. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family owned and operated. They join them as a customer, as an employee. You'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Second hour here, Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Here's your quarterback, Deshaun Watson, at the podium.
Deshaun,
You're down.
address your first home game, what's your mindset heading into this, playing in front of the home fans for the first time?
My mindset, I'm very excited. This is something that, is the reason why, I picked to come to Cleveland, is to play in front of the best fans in the world. And, I've been hearing things, I've been seeing it on TV, I've been seeing it from afar, from different players and guys that's new to this team this year also, just like myself, what they talk about it and the experience. So I'm looking forward to being able to play in front of them.
Sean, did you see the level of improvement you were hoping from game 1 to game 2?
Of course, that's the key of the game, is just being able to improve each and every week. This is an improving league, and you can't be able to, you don't want to kind of go down each and every week. So last week was definitely an improvement. Of course, we want to score more points and win the game, but, if you speak individually, it was definitely an improvement, but I have a long way to go.
Is there a specific area, like we talked about your mechanics week 1, is there something specific that you felt like really took that jump?
Just everything, the mechanics to the operation of the offense, to decision making, to completing balls on time. Just everything was just a complete improvement for my game.
Do you feel like it's, you had mentioned you don't know when it's going to come back fully for you.
Right.
So if you kind of had to, I guess, weigh where you're at, how close do you feel like the player that you are?
I'm not close to where I'm at, and I don't want to be where I was in 2020. I want to be better. So I have a long way to go. I want to continue to improve. I want to be that player whenever I step on the field. No one can stop us, and that's my mentality. But we have to go out there and continue to show that and try to do that, and not just talk about it, but actually prove it on the field. So I'm nowhere near where I want to be, and this team also is nowhere near where we want to be. So we got to continue to just keep growing and finish the season strong.
Deshaun, is it hard to kind of not put a timetable on it on your mind, knowing like, okay, you've got 4 games left and you got a whole offseason to kind of get back to the way you were? Is it kind of hard not to put a timetable on it?
No, I don't put limits on myself. I don't put timetables on myself. Like I said, each and every day I just try to find a way to improve. So if that's, mentally, if that's, leadership, if that's, the student of the game, play calling, getting on the same page with Kevin, AVP, and those guys, like, every day is an opportunity for me to improve. So I don't want to put any limits or no timetable on myself, because I'm setting myself up for, who knows, disappointment or something like that if I don't meet that time limit.
Deshaun, Amari talked about getting some fireworks in the offense. Do you see that? How important that is to get the explosive out of the game on the offense?
Yeah, of course, that's what we want to, aim for, is being able to be explosive, get those big chunks downfield each and every time. But, before we do that, we have to do the little things right, and that's taking the, little, easy plays that the defense give us, the run game, getting that going. And once we can kind of put all that together, then the big plays is going to, take care of itself. So if we can do the little things right, then the big things will take care of itself. But I agree with Amari, like, that's what we want. That's what we have, the athletes and the talent to be able to make those explosive plays, and we just got to go out there and make sure we do it.
Are you getting used to the weather yet?
Yeah, it's it's a little chilly, but when I'm on the field, I just be so locked in on football, so I don't be worried about the weather.
It's been a mild winter so far, actually.
Oh yeah, so hopefully it stays that way.
How about this Ravens defense with them adding Roquan? Patrick Green is playing really well, and Calais. What about, what challenges do they
Oh, they present a lot of challenges. This is a defense that it's very hard to find a weakness. They're talented all across the board, and so you have to give them credit, from the D-line, linebackers to the secondary, and then they can just roll guys in. I think the biggest thing for them is, they have depth. So regardless if somebody go out, it's another guy that's coming in and play very, very well. But, we're out for the challenge, and that's the point of, playing in this division each and every week. Cincinnati last week, Baltimore this week, and then same with Pittsburgh. Guys are very, very talented. They have great defenses, and then the coordinators are very, very good. So, we have a challenge on our hand, and we're going to go out there and try to succeed.
This division has a reputation for being very physical. A lot of guys that come to Cleveland or Pittsburgh, Baltimore, they mention that.
Correct.
As as a player who's not afraid to be physical yourself and run the ball, and that, how do you balance being physical and aggressive with protecting yourself and avoiding a big collision?
I mean, that's the name of the game. You know, it's just availability. You know, if I'm not available, then I can't help the team. And that goes for everybody. So at the same time, you know, you got to be physical, you got to be smart. But from my position, being the quarterback, I'm not going to go and try to run over a safety. That's not me. You know, I just slide and get on to the next play. I leave that to the linebackers and the receivers if they want to do all that. But for me, I'm just, you know, trying to make sure I'm getting up for the next play so I can, you know, stay on the field as much as possible to try to help the team win.
Deshaun, like 2 games in now, how do you feel like you are with your conditioning, being in football shape? Is that something that you can really only up as you get more games in?
Yeah, that's something that, you know, just each and every week, just continue to try to improve on that one. It was definitely a lot better last week than it was the previous week. So I'm going to continue to just improve my conditioning and my stamina, and so I can be able to go out, you know, do long drives and communicate the operation of the offense.
Deshaun, do you think you've had an opportunity for those fireworks and you just haven't had the timing down, or has it been just more of a, you know, easing into the thing and not really having the opportunity for the huge play?
I mean, you got to look at the schemes of the defense. You know, Houston didn't allow us to have any big shots. Cincinnati did the same thing. You know, with the two shots we wanted, they got back and did you know, we call it, they cut the crossers and slingshot the corners. So, you know, teams are doing a good job of trying to take that away because they know exactly, you know, from when I was in Houston, that was something that I was very, very successful with. So, you know, just those opportunities got to come up. We got to see it. We got to hit it. And we just got to, you know, not hope for it, but whenever those opportunities pop up, we just got to make sure we take it.
The best part of your game is throwing the ball down the field?
It's one of them, for sure. Yes, sir.
Did you hear Marlon Humphrey say they wanted to give you a not-so-soft welcoming into the AFC North and the rivalry?
I just heard of it when I walked into the locker room. But, no, of course, you know, that's the key of the game. You know, they got to do their job to try to rattle me and rattle everyone else around, and, you know, that's the fun of the game. So, you know, I love to compete. I love to go out there. So, you know, they're going to try to rattle me, and I'm going to do the same thing.
When you played the Ravens a couple times when you were with the Texans, did it feel like kind of a different brand of football because they're known for their physicality and it's AFC?
No, not at all. You know, they did what they had to do against us in Houston. You know, I think the 2019 when we went to Baltimore, they put numbers on us, and then in 2020 they came to Houston. I think it was week 2. They beat us by 14 or something like that. I can't remember the score, but you know, they did whatever they needed to do to get that victory and put points on the board, and we didn't do our job when I was in Houston. But you know, this is a new opportunity, new challenge, and you know, a whole different new team. So you know, I'm looking forward to the challenge.
How could this be a successful season if you guys don't make the playoffs?
You know, just trying to improve each and every day, and that's my mindset. You know, I can't control, you know, how the rankings is status like that. The only thing I can control is try to win it on Sunday. So if we can win, Saturday, the next 2 weeks, and finish out the season strong, then who knows what can happen. And if we make it or not, you know, that's something that, you know, we just got to let how things play out.
And in terms of like the growth over the last couple of weeks with Kevin as a play caller, are you guys feeling more comfortable?
Yeah, we just each and every day is an opportunity for us to get more comfortable, to see different things with different schemes that we're going against, what he's thinking, what I'm thinking. So, you know, it's only been 2.5 weeks of me and Kevin really working together. So, you know, this thing, the sky's the limit, and we just got to keep, you know, try to work and improve.
When you talk about timing, is it easier or more difficult to get the timing down on deep shots compared to kind of the short to intermediate stuff?
I mean, just everything is about timing at the end of the day. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, for me as a quarterback, I got to anticipate because, you know, there's injuries that happen, things that happen. So, you know, you might be, out there with a guy, you know, that haven't practiced with you all week. So, yeah, I say timing is definitely key. But, you know, that's something that in my mind I don't really try to, you know, process because everyone needs to be in the same spot. We need to be, you know, when that play is being called. So, you know, things happen, but I don't want to make any type of excuse of, hey, this is all about timing and things like that. You know, at the end of the day, we got to make the plays, and I got to make the throws.
What you've experienced so far with fans in Cleveland, and I know there have been some issues on the road with pitching at the chance and signs and things like that. But based on your experience here, what kind of a reception do you anticipate getting at First Energy Stadium in terms of positive, maybe some not positive?
I'm not even sure. You know, my main objective for this weekend is going out there and just showing, you know, this crowd and showing the Cleveland fans in this city that we're going out there to compete, and this season is not over for us. So I can't control what the reactions are going to be. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but you know, like I said, I'm excited to go out there and play football and be, you know, and get back in the old school uniforms and you know, the white face masks and things like that, and have a little bit of fun and just try to, you know, make the Saturday, you know, something special for Cleveland.
Deshaun, one of the challenges for an offensive line with a mobile quarterback like yourself is having to hold those blocks a little extra longer as you extend the plays. It makes susceptible for holding penalties or linemen leaking down the field. From your standpoint, what do you do to work with the line maybe to, I guess, help them learn you as a player when you're extending those plays?
It's not so much of me telling them anything, because I kind of just, you know, play the game and I react. And, you know, if I sit there and try to tell them, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and then they might be thinking of something totally different. And if I don't do that, then it's not, you know, we're not on the same page. So I think it's a feel thing, you know. It's a feel like, hey, you know, in this situation, in this protection, you know, D. Watt is going to be sitting in the pocket on this side of the, you know, hash, or vice versa. So I think it's just kind of you know, a feel, and just, you know, having me react to certain situations and going through, you know, live reps. And once, you know, you feel that out, and then the whole line kind of figure out, you know, what they got to do to make sure that, you know, we don't get those holding penalties.
Going back to the topic of Cleveland weather real quick, in March after the trade, the Haslam said that they thought that was something they really had to overcome for you to, you know, ultimately choose the Browns.
Right.
Especially because of the conditions you faced a couple of years ago when Houston came here. How much did that enter your thinking when you were going through all your options?
My main focus was what's the best situation for me, and what's the best situation for the organization to win a Super Bowl. And I felt like Cleveland was the best situation. You know, that's something that he asked me for sure, but I told him at the end of the day, it's football. You know, you can get any weather in any situation other than, you know, playing in a dome. But, you know, for me, my main focus was just, what is the locker room like? What is the organization like? How can we go win a Super Bowl? And that was my main focus, and that's why I chose Cleveland.
Who did you say asked you that?
No, the Haslams, they asked me about the weather, yeah, for sure. But that's what I told them, like, you know, the weather is that's not a priority right now. You know, my priority is, like I said, teammates, locker room, coaching staff, and what's the best opportunity.
1 minute.
Super Bowl.
Now you're here in December, going to play at home for the first time. Do you think it's a legitimate challenge playing quarterback, or is it just kind of not a real factor for you?
Like I said, I mean, of course it's a challenge. You know, I'd be crazy if I, you know, sat up here and said it's not a challenge. But, you know, not just for me, but it's for the opponent also. You know, Baltimore got to come in and deal with the same weather as we do. So, you know, we just got to go out there and just, you know, put the weather to the side and just try to make as many plays as we can.
What do you remember about that game in 2020? It was like windy and rainy. I think there was a delay.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was something I wasn't nowhere close to expecting and wasn't used to.
Come back.
It was like 5 different weather changes in an hour, so it was pretty nuts.
You're up.
All right, there you go. There's Deshaun Watson at the podium from earlier today. Coming up next, we revisit the 2022 Baltimore Ravens. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Be part of one of the most passionate fan base in the NFL. Join the Browns season ticket member waitlist today for the best chance of securing tickets for all home games in future seasons. Don't miss out. Go to clevelandbrowns.com/tickets or call 440-891-5050 to reserve your spot today. Before we meet the Ravens, did you get the answer to the question that we asked off camera?
So we were going through one of the factoids that have come out about the Baltimore Ravens, which is a very good team, and we will get into the reasons why they are so good. But the 2014 Kansas City Chiefs apparently had a season in which their wide receivers did not catch a single touchdown. So we were like, who is doing this? And the reason this came up is that the Ravens receivers have gone 10 straight games without a receiving touchdown, the longest such drought by a team's wide receiver unit since an 18-game drought by Kansas City in 14-15. 2014 Chiefs had no receiving touchdowns by receivers in a 16-game season. So it is Alex Smith.
Yeah.
Alex Smith is the quarterback.
Andy Reid's there already.
They go 9-7 that year. Alex Smith throws for 3,265 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 6 picks.
Was Dwayne Bowe there?
So Jamal Charles had 5 touchdowns receiving.
Yeah,
Travis Kelce had 5.
Bowe was there. 754 yards, but no touchdowns.
Anthony Fasano had 4.
So tight end.
Joe McKnight, running back, had 2. Niall Davis, remember him? He had 1. Niall Davis had 6 rushing touchdowns that year. And then Anthony Sherman, the fullback, had 1. The receivers, Bowe had 754 yards, 60 catches, 754 yards, which led the team, was second on the team behind Kelce. No touchdowns. Albert Wilson, Donnie Avery, Jason Avant, Junior Hemingway, Frankie Hammond were the wide receivers.
Holy cow.
No, not a single touch. That's hard to believe. And this team came in second in the AFC West. 9-7.
Yeah, it's pretty. It got me. I didn't realize that Kelce was 20. So that was Kelce's rookie year.
Kelce's older than you think.
He was a rookie.
Yeah.
He was a rookie in 13, but didn't play. He must have got hurt. But he was a 24-year-old rookie in 2013. So his first year as a really playing was 14, and he's 25. He's 33.
Yeah.
Right now. Had 2,000-yard receiving seasons pre-Mahomes, and then post-Mahomes, it's been a steady diet of that. His targets with Mahomes are pretty ridiculous.
He's already over 1,000 this year, and he leads the NFL with 12 receiving touchdowns this year.
Yeah, 33 years old.
Yeah.
Pretty remarkable. Yeah, that's wild. All right, time to revisit the 2020. We already know them. They're 9-4 in the season. First place in the AFC North. They have the tiebreaker over the Bengals. They beat the Steelers on Sunday. J.K. Dobbins is back, 120 yards and a touchdown. Who's going to quarterback him? Sometimes it matters. It's not going to be Lamar. We know that. Huntley's proven if it's not him, it's going to be the kid Anthony Brown from Oregon. In terms of what they do, though, it's what they always do.
Yeah, they're very good defensively. They're the number 12 total defense, number 8 scoring, number 2 against the rush. They have not allowed a single 100-yard rusher this season. Number 2 on third downs, 5th in sacks, 2nd in turnovers, 3rd in limiting big plays, and they're 2nd overall in turnover differential. So they beat you up. They take the football away from you. And since they've acquired Roquan Smith, the excellent linebacker, he joined the Ravens. Since he has been with the Ravens are 2nd in rush. Since Roquan Smith has come, Week 9 was his first game. They are 1st in the NFL against the run, 55 yards a game. 2nd in the NFL in scoring defense, 13.4, and they've allowed the 2nd fewest touchdowns, a total of 6. Only the Niners are allowing fewer points per game, and we know how good the Niners have been. They're allowing 10 points per game. Roquan Smith has been sensational for them. It's a good defense, and then offensively, number 2 running, number 4 big plays. They're not elite anywhere. They're number 14 total, number 12 scoring, 27th passing, 10th on third downs. They don't turn the ball over, though. They're 6th in terms of turnovers, and so they're just a team that knows how to win, and they're playing right now elite, suffocating defense, and that's how they're able to do it. But you mentioned, if Huntley's okay. Like, Huntley this year, 80% completions, 275 yards passing, 1 interception, 83 rating. He's run for 72 yards and a touchdown. He had the game-winning drive against Denver. Started last week, gets knocked out, was 8 of 12 for 88 yards and rushed for 31 yards. He left with a concussion. Brown came in 3 of 5 for 16 yards, 3 rushes, -5 yards. And so it felt like once Brown came in, they were not interested at all in throwing the football, not even the littlest teeny bit. And not surprising. So they ran it, as you mentioned, 15 carries for Dobbins for 120 yards, 13 carries for Gus Edwards for another 66 yards. Kenyon Drake even got a carry. The quarterbacks obviously got some carries as well. But if they have to go with Brown, I think that's going to be a challenge for them.
Yeah, I would think that it would be. The crazy thing about them is this is 2 years in a row where they have been riddled with injury. And last year, knocked on the door the whole way. This year, 9-4. I mean, they can't stay healthy. Bateman, Dobbins, Lamar, it's one after another, and it's huge players. Like, it's consistently losing the most important players on their team. Edwards this year, and it doesn't matter. 9-4.
Yeah, they know how to win. One thing to remember is Lamar got hurt against us last year very early in the game in Cleveland. Huntley came in 27 of 38, that's 70%, 270 and a touchdown, 6 rushes, 45 yards. The Browns did win 24-22, but Huntley is not Lamar, but Huntley is still capable of winning for them. He's 2-3 all-time as a starter.
Marlon Humphrey was asked on what kind of AFC North welcome he's going to give Deshaun Watson. Let's hear from Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah, we want to give him a not-so-soft welcoming, you know what I mean? So it's cool to welcome him to the rivalry. Hopefully it won't be a good rivalry welcoming for him, but it's always, I think it's interesting to see, when guys come in this AFC North, it's not sweet over here, you know what I mean? So it's interesting to see, how it'll be. I love how basically all the teams now are just good in the AFC. It just makes the game so much funner. It makes the rivalry so much better. And so I'm really excited I know he's going to be there for a while, so I'll be matching up against him for a while.
Patrick Queen, another one of the Baltimore stalwarts on the defensive side, was also asked about Watson. Here's what he had to say.
Still the same guy that he used to be. Still a great quarterback. Still can move. Still can make the throws on the move. Can still do everything that any other quarterback could do. So the biggest thing with him is just trying to keep him in the pocket and limit the things that he do well.
Best defense we face remaining?
Yeah, well, since the Roquan Smith trade, here's where they rank. In points per game, second, I mentioned that. Yards per game, third. Rush yards per game, first. Yards per carry, 2.8, first. Opponent third down percentage, 28%, first. They have been dominant. Yeah, this is probably the best defense that we played. They're big and strong up front. They've got wily veterans. Now, Justin Houston has 9 sacks, leads the team, but he had 8.5 sacks in his first 6 games, only a half a sack the last 4. Now, he got to us, I think maybe twice in that game. Campbell got to us and forced the fumble in that one. So, but yeah, this is a good defense. 2 good corners in Peters and Humphrey. And then they've got, I think, one of the best pure free safeties in the NFL in Marcus Williams. Marcus Williams only played 6 games. He leads the team with 4 interceptions. He's got 6 passes defensed. He's allowing a 36 rating in coverage. This is a guy who's got 19 career picks, big free agent signing. So they're sound on the back end. Kyle Hamilton's starting to play more their first rounder out of Notre Dame in a big nickel look. And they are very confident in what they're doing defensively. They're winning because of their defense. Their offense has not been great, even with Lamar.
No.
It has not been great. It's been their defense that has been very good. The only person that's got him is Trevor Lawrence, who's as hot as anybody in the league right now. He's got 10 touchdowns, no picks in his last 4 games.
Yeah, he's been incredible.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, they haven't been – they let Hollywood Brown go. They don't really have anything on the outside you're worried about. Bateman's been hurt again. Another year of him.
They haven't had a receiver
injured.
score in 10 games.
It's
wide
stunning.
receiver.
I mean, they it's really a one-trick thing that they are.
Yeah.
And yet somehow
It's a
the
good
weeks
trick.
churn and they win and they win and they win. It's pretty remarkable.
They are clutch when it comes to winning
They've been
time.
the same thing, everybody, for so long. Same defense, same offense, same coach, same special. I mean, it's the same
They're just
operation.
They're very clutch, and obviously things are going well. The only change was really on the defensive side, but they're running a very similar defense. They brought in the young man from, McDonald from Michigan? Is that where he was from? Do I have that right? Yeah, Mike McDonald. But, yeah, you're right. It is the same. It's the same formula. We run it. We play good defense, Mark Andrews. And then if it's close and it comes down to a kick, we have Justin Tucker.
That's the next thing I was going to say is they have such confidence in close games because they have that dude at the end. And it's if they can get to just a field goal attempt, they feel like they win. And 99.9% of the time they do. That streak finally didn't happen. He missed a 67-yarder. But other than that,
that was a
lock.
5-year streak. 5 years.
If
he did not miss
up
in the second half or overtime.
I'm telling you,
years.
Their special teams are always so sound. Harbaugh's came up through that, and so they're always so sound, and they've had him for a long time, and it just gives them a lot of confidence. Like, they don't, as an organization, they don't shoot themselves in the foot much.
Perfect. Think about our game against them, okay? Tucker makes all his kicks. Duvernay, who's the Pro Bowl returner, busts one return on us that gives them free points. They don't make mistakes, but they generate takeaways, as we talked about. They're second in turnover differential in the league. They are second in takeaways in the league, and they had a turnover that led to points. They scored, I think that game was 23-20, and they scored all of their points but one touchdown on short fields.
Yeah.
That's how they beat us. Just a couple of little things here or there, and that's little things have been big things for the Browns, and for them, the little things are big things in a positive way.
We've said that all the little things that we can do, we fail at doing. It feels like this year, all the little things they do, they succeed.
So good.
Go ahead, Gibby.
What do we make of the injury situation? And the reason why I say that, David Bell not on the field, a lot of big names on the bike on a short week.
I think short week.
Yes.
My gut. I mean, he would know. I think short week and Friday's the day you look. Or
No,
I guess
but
it's tomorrow,
so
right?
tomorrow is a Friday.
Tomorrow's a Friday, so that'll
Yeah.
be the day you'll look. That's going to annoy me all day tomorrow. That like it's treating it like Friday, and I'm going to be like, oh, but we still have to come back here the next day.
And that's why I'm like, Cooper on a bike, JJ3 on a bike, Miles, Clowney.
Those are all the guys that
rest.
Yes. David Bell. I mean, okay.
Bell would be the one that would be,
but I mean,
different. But yeah, he isn't. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking. You're talking about 23 catches for 186 yards on the season. I mean, we're not talking about game changing. At least not at this point.
No, hasn't been. We will be a lot healthier than them.
Yes,
Saturday. That's for sure.
Certainly.
Well, but look, we were healthier than the Bengals too. They were without a lot of guys in that one.
We're banged up though. If all of our injuries, we're healthy. Center has been a big injury for us.
Sure.
And then we're banged up completely at the second level.
Yeah,
I mean,
linebacker, it's been decimated for sure.
Completely.
Yeah. Barking Backers, presented by Milk-Bones, the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. OBM, the official printer partner of your Cleveland Browns. Will you depend on your Browns to win? You can always depend on OBM. They'll tackle any size office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. We head back to the podium. Special teams coordinator Mike Prefer.
Okay, good afternoon.
You're done.
When looking back at Sunday's game against Cincinnati's, we were obviously pleased by the way our punt team played, the way Corey punted the ball, the way we covered punts, flipped the field several times for our defense. Cade made both of his kicks, did a nice job there. We did a couple good things in the punt return game, but we can't have that roughing the punter. That really kind of changed the momentum of the game. We were playing great on defense. We were playing great on special teams. We were, moving the ball a little bit on offense where we kept them off balance and we gave them the ball back. And that was just not a very good play by us and hurt our football team. I think we made up for it later in the game. Late in the game, we rushed him again. He shanked a punt off the side of his foot, and we got the ball at the plus 48 with 4.5 to go, and gave our offense a chance with good field position. But looking back, obviously I'm going to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. But looking back at that roughing the punter penalty is something we don't have here. We don't have mistakes like that, and that was uncalled for.
What exactly happened on that play, Michael, when you talked to Tony after?
Yeah, we knew somebody was going to get home, and we've been rushing the punt pretty well all year, and we've been close, unfortunately, 4 or 5 times this year. And he felt like as he got through there was no one there to block him, and he felt like he had a chance to block it, and he wasn't close enough in order to do what he did. If he was really close, I can understand, but he was still probably a yard or two away or yard and a half away from really affecting the punt enough to try to block it. And he went for it, and it was a mistake.
Looked like Cade wanted that shot at the end of the half. What was that conversation?
Well, I'm looking at the yard line, and I told Coach what I thought was a good yard line to get to, and we weren't quite there yet. And Cade's over there campaigning, which I love. I love the competitiveness of the young guy. I kind of chuckled. Somebody said I was laughing, but I was smiling because I was pleased that he wanted to kick that, but he doesn't look at the big picture of, we have to cover with a lot of big people against a return man. They're going to put a guy deep like we would underneath the goalpost, and if he's short, they're going to bring it back. That's a hard thing to cover for, we have 2 D linemen on our field goal unit. We have 6 offensive linemen on our field goal unit. We have a snapper, a holder, and a kicker. So it's going to be tough to cover with those guys against a good returner. So that's why I'm glad we didn't kick that in that situation. And game winner, obviously, you have to. And I think we were close on the Hail Mary. So I think the percentages say go with the Hail Mary there. And, maybe it's 5 yards closer. Maybe we go for it.
Has he lobbied that hard before, or was that the most animated he's been about something like that?
The end of the Atlanta game, when we were starting to get in field goal range, he was lobbying for a certain yard line. And I think, we never got to that yard line. So, but in terms of that, yeah, but it was great. I expect that from him. That's probably why I laughed and said, okay, well, I understand that's what you want. I think as we get more confident with him, he gets more confident and continues to mature as a young kicker. Maybe you do kick those, but you got to look back. He's had a couple block that were low. Those are the things that go through my mind all the time. And the weather was actually pretty nice. The wind was blowing slightly in that direction, so that would have been the direction to kick that in. So, but I was happy that he did that, and he is competitive and he's very confident, and I love that about him.
Mike, as a coach, would you rather have a guy who's that animated on the sideline and wants to go for the 68-yarder?
I've been the other way. I've coached kickers in the past, and they're like, "What do you think?" And they're like, and they kind of back into the shadows. It's like, I need a volunteer. They go, one of those deals. So I'd rather have it that way, absolutely.
Like you mentioned the blocks. The last time you faced Baltimore, they managed to get a block on you guys. They've been very good at blocking kicks over the years. What makes them so good? Why are they so good at that aspect?
I think Calais Campbell's 6'9". I think we're 6'8". It's a lot to do with it. And he's really good, and he's still as old as he is as a veteran. I'm not saying he's old, but as a veteran in this league, he does such a great job with his swim technique. He does a great job of getting in the A or B gap, sometimes a C gap when he swims, gets his hands up in the kick plane. He's very talented that way. They've always been really good off the edge. Marlon Humphrey's done a great job off the edge over the years. Seymour 25's done a good job as of late. Malik Harrison, the one who blocked against us, that was a 60-some yarder that he just jumped straight up at the line of scrimmage. You can't protect against that. Hit him right in the face. So, they've got good players. They've done a nice job with their schemes, and we've got to do a great job getting the ball up in the air and have good timing, elevation, accuracy. That's what it's all about for a field goal unit. That's where we're up to that challenge.
Does that mean extra work this week?
No, I think it's just. I'm sorry.
On that particular issue.
No, I think The thing with Cade, as we've mentioned the last few weeks, is getting the ball up in the air, great elevation. Ever since the Buffalo game, we've had the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, he's done a really nice job of getting the ball up in the air, and that's been the emphasis, and we'll continue to emphasize that going forward. Doesn't matter who we're playing, he's still got to get the ball up in the air.
Calais Campbell, does that give you nightmares trying to watch the film and see what he's able to do out there?
No, I mean, he's so talented. We got to find him. We got to know where he's at. We understand the swim, that they love to do the swim. That's kind of their deal, and we got to do a good job of staying low and square and meeting force with force and all the coaching points that we constantly talk about. Our protection's been very, very good all year, and I feel very good about the guys that we have out there.
Back to the punt rush, Mike, with Tony. Is it always something where, I don't want to get the game plan, but is it always rush all the time for him, or are there different plays where you play off guys? Like, obviously, there's all-out rushes.
Every week's different. Every week's different. Some teams like Baltimore, they've been a fake team in the past. You got to make sure you cover the eligibles. Make sure that if you do bring pressure, you got to make sure that the guys that are eligible that may go out for a pass or they may snap the ball, snap and run to the person protector. We call them the fullback. So we're always aware of those types of things depending on the call. So every week is a little bit different. Tony's assignment or anybody's assignments is week to week.
Before the game in Baltimore, I saw Cade and Justin Tucker kind of kicking next to each other. Tucker's booming them, and it almost looked like he's trying to get in Cade's head a little bit. Would you be surprised if he did that? I mean,
No, I wouldn't be surprised by anything Justin Tucker does. He's a smart guy. Every time I see him, I just kind of almost bow and say, Mr. Future Hall of Famer, because I have so much respect for him. But if he was messing with him, I'm sure Cade wouldn't affect Cade. Cade's going to go out there. I mean, Cade has the utmost respect for him as well for what he's accomplished in this league, and any young kicker would like to aspire to have that kind of success. But I wouldn't be.
Back in 10.
It could be unnerving watching him nail 60-yarder after 60-yarder in pregame.
No, I mean, because Cade's going to nail 60-yarder after 60-yarder in pregame too. You just got to go out and do it in the game now, like Justin's done.
You're up.
We didn't talk about that on Monday or yesterday, but Cade wanting the opportunity at the end of the half.
For a 68-yarder?
For a 68-yarder, wanting that opportunity. I liked it,
I
man.
like that he wanted it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a job. It's a job to say, no, it's ridiculous. It's outdoors. It's all of those things.
He could have done
But
it.
I like the fact that he fought for it. And I will tell you this, and I'm sure Justin Tucker's the same way. I haven't seen him warm up. But when we did take the boys to the game, it was a game against the Patriots, and you saw his warm-up, it was staggering to watch. Now, it's got a transition, and everybody knows that, but his leg strength is something of awe.
The talent is without question, it's there. It's just about consistency now at this level and finding a way to be a guy like a Justin Tucker that, and there's only one of him so far, but to be very, very good and very reliable, that's the goal, right? Consistently make your kicks and especially make the big ones. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it is. I liked asking for it though. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you like the confidence, right? And you need that. You got to have that certainly in that position. And you know what? Justin Tucker is incredibly confident, I'm sure, and with good reason. I mean, Justin Tucker's a Hall of Famer, right? Isn't he? In my mind, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I mean, I would think, wouldn't Vinatieri be that? Is he that? Is he in the Hall of Fame?
I don't think so. Yeah. Has he been out long enough?
Yeah, I don't know if he's been out long enough. I would think that he would be. I mean, he kicked for a long time at the end. He's 49. He is not.
No, he played to 2019. He's
so he's not quite there yet. Yeah, yeah. 4 times. So his resume: 4-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time first team All Pro, 3 Pro Bowlers. Some of that could be because he played with teams that were in the Super Bowl. Although you'd still get the nod, wouldn't you?
I mean,
you'd think he's on the NFL 100th anniversary team. He's on the 2000 All Decades team.
Yeah, but that's just they just didn't put Justin Tucker on it. 5 Pro Bowls, 5-time first team All Pro, 2-time second team All Pro.
Yeah.
Career field goal percentage, Justin Tucker 91. Career field goal percentage for Vinatieri 83.
Yeah. Vinatieri's got the clutch kicks too, though. He's got the snow kick. He won 2 Super Bowls off his feet.
No doubt.
I mean, they might both be. It's been a while since we've had one. Is Morton Anderson the last?
Morton Anderson, yeah.
And then like Jan Stenerud?
Yeah.
George Blanda? It's a short list.
Most field goals made since 2012. Most points scored since 2012. Best field goal percentage in NFL history. 158 40-plus yard field goals, most since 2012. 54 50-plus yard field goals, second most since 2012. Matt Prater had the most. Tied for the most games in NFL history, 8 games with 2 50-plus yard makes. I mean, he's ridiculous. I think Vinatieri will get in, to your point.
Blew the toe, obviously. I'm trying to think about No, yeah, I knew that couldn't be it. Yeah. I just was pulling up like kickers in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Stenerud, Groza,
Jan
Anderson,
Stenerud.
Blanda.
Yeah.
That was it. Jan Stenerud from?
Sweden.
And then?
I should say the U, because I feel like that's what follows that, but I don't believe Jan Stenerud went to the U.
No.
The Montana?
Although a place that is now just as expensive as the U in terms of real estate, perhaps more so even.
Montana
State.
There it is.
Jan
I knew
Stenerud.
it. Listen, I can follow
Kansas City
clues.
Chiefs.
I can take
follow
context.
enough clues, ask enough questions. Eventually you get there. Not many of them, but certainly Tucker would certainly be headed that way.
Oh, yeah.
With the way that his career has gone. So much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, let's play a game of pop quiz.
Ooh, I like it.
How many
7
pass catchers on the Cleveland Browns roster made more money this year in salary than Jackson Smith and Jigba made at Ohio State?
Ooh.
So the whole lot of our receivers, everybody who catches a pass who isn't a running back, everybody who catches a pass who isn't a running back.
Oh,
in base salary.
Are you talking tight ends too?
Tight ends too.
So I'm guessing it's going to be 1 because of the way Amari's contract is structured. So it'll be Chief 1.
Well, I'm saying cap hit. I'll use cap hit.
Oh, then 2.
You would be correct.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper and the Chief both made more. They are the only ones who did.
Everybody else is on a rookie deal.
Jackson Smith and Jigba allegedly made $1.7 million
For not
playing
playing.
wide receiver at Ohio State and played what amounted to about a game. He was hurt in the Notre Dame game, played a little bit in the Iowa game. That's it. That's the list. Opted out of the bowl games. All of this was crowdsourced from boosters and fans and stuff, and they paid it. C.J. Stroud was like 2.75.
Are people freaking out that like Ohio State's getting outbid on some of these people?
Oh, no, it's quite calm. Yeah, no one's talking about it.
Well, let's put it this way.
I literally do 3 hours on this every morning.
If
I've seen it, if I know about it,
has
nobody's
taken a second mortgage out to help finance some of this?
The look of it's impossible. You have
it's never going to end.
You have an athletic department that's revenues is $225 million, whose expenditures are $189.
Seems like nice profit.
Right, and they have 33 sports. They don't need them. They could have 15. They choose to do 33. And they are asking Joe Fan to give. They're at press conferences saying, we need our fans. Like, are you kidding? Haven't they done enough? It's an awful look. It's an awful look. And people say, oh, they can't. I said, well, how about take the $9 million the head coach makes and have him give 4.5% of that or $4.5 million of that to the collective. No, they can't do that. NCAA won't allow it. Folks, there is no NCAA. The presidents and the athletic directors are the NCAA. The NCAA has not ruled on anything from a ruling standpoint since COVID. They have no enforcement arm. They laid them off. There's no enforcement to the NCAA. It's lawless. You can do whatever you wanted. If you wanted to say, okay, now we can fund our own collectives, you could do it in a second. It's crazy.
I bet you're really enjoying that for 3 hours. It feels like a fun
It
conversation.
is fun,
for
though. I
3
do
hours.
enjoy it. Yeah, I like it. It's fun. But it's never ending.
That's what I mean.
And
There's
all they had to do was just put the boundaries in place and then let them go.
All they had to do,
but they didn't do it.
All they have to do now, and there is only one way out of it. I can't be convinced that there's another. All they have to do is call it what it is, professional sports, and share the revenue and have salary caps and contracts just like they do everywhere else. Just call it what it is. It's enough. But they refuse to do that, and so doing so, now they have no control over any of it.
1 minute.
It's wild, man. Wild
to see
times. Catch the Browns preview show tonight, 7 to 8, University Hospital's Cleveland Browns Radio Network. Deion Jones, voice of the Browns. Jim Donovan joined Ken and Gerard on the show tonight. The next level is coming up next. We're back tomorrow. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.